There you go. Hi, this is Demetria Clark, the director of Heart of Herbs Herbal School, and this is the Heart of Herbs Herbal School podcast. And today I have the illustrious Bevin Cohen with us today. And I say illustrious because your output is insane. So I'm always I always feel like I'm running really fast to catch up with everyone else in the world. So when I see like really like amazing output, it's so inspiring. So thank you for inspiring me. And thank you for being on with us today. So please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first, Demetria, thank you so much for having me on the show. I've been called many things, but I don't know if I've ever been called illustrious before. So thank you for that. That's really nice. You're making my day here for sure. Well, like you mentioned, my name is Bevin Cohen, and I'm from Small House Farm, which is a sustainable homestead project in central Michigan. So that's me in a nutshell.
That's awesome. And so this is what I've picked up from you over the years that you do everything. And this is what I think one of the reasons why I've always like really admired the work that you did is that you do it as a family unit. Am I right? I mean, this is like a family affair.
Oh yeah, it's all
Your
four of
wife,
us.
your children, like everybody is involved and I love that because that's how Heart of Herbs was. I mean, Heart of Herbs was written with I was nursing one kid and the other one was running around the house. I mean, like it was literally like a family affair. And I always like that because I feel like you can really get that from your work and from your website. Can you tell people where they can find your website before we get too far into everything?
It's easy. Small House Farm.
Oh, you froze up. Can you say that again?
Oh, of course. Smallhousefarm.com.
All right. So everybody, that's smallhousefarm.com. Get your own commercial going. All right. So you have many books out there.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why
We
you're so illustrious.
I well, okay, so we're in Michigan, and in Michigan in the wintertime we get a lot of snow, and so it really slows down a lot of other activities, like we're not out in the garden as much, we're not doing maple syrup yet, it's really a time of we say peace and reflection, right? But it's also very busy because I spend a lot of the winter writing. So over the years I've gotten, I guess, pretty efficient with writing. We published our first book. It was a self-published book that we did in 2018. And well, it's really just kind of spiraled from there. I've worked with a number of publishers since then, and I think that we have had a book come out every year since 2018. So whatever that number is, yeah,
Wow.
that's quite a few. It's quite a bit. But it keeps me out of trouble. If I'm not writing, I got to be out splitting wood. So,
Oh, yeah, no, I get that. I get the wood splitting thing. I'm in Virginia now, but I grew up in the White Mountains. I know what splitting wood means.
So you're familiar. So anything to stay in the house writing, that's kind of my thing.
Yeah, well, I'm tempting my husband to get me a wood stove cooker for the barn because we have a big fire down there and that's where we hang out in our off time. So I thought
Oh, yeah.
if I could do dinner in there too, I can stay in the uber warmth longer. So I think I'm getting it.
Oh, that's awesome. That's very cool. That's very cool. I'm a little jealous of that. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, so it'll be able to do both things. But so you have put out, let's see, 18, 19, what, 6 books?
Yeah, I was gonna have you do the math for me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like I'm guessing here.
I mean, it's technically maybe more than that. So in 2023, I did a series of books for Timber Press, and
Mhm.
so they were state by state guides. So we actually did one. It was for Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, Wisconsin, Illinois. So that year, technically, we did 5 books. But I just counted as one because, you know.
Dang.
Yeah, so it's busy. We're really busy around here. I don't sit still very well. So in the wintertime, it's a really good way for me to harness that energy that I have. In the summer, I'm able to burn it off. We're out in the garden. I travel a lot. We do a lot of things. It's a very, very busy place, but it's nice to sit down and, try to collect everything that's going on in my mind and put it on paper or put it on paper. Listen to how old I sound. So, type it on the screen.
I understood. You tell me you're using Post-it notes, I'll know what that is too.
Right. Oh, that's so
Yeah,
funny.
I got a
I
label maker and my no
gotta check the
I
phone
got like
book.
50 notebooks. I'm not
Right.
even kidding you. So what has been your favorite book to this point as far as getting your message out there, or maybe you feel like the impact on the future?
That's a really great question. So I'm going to answer that with a few different things. So
Okay.
I would say that possibly my favorite book was my first book. It's called From Our Seeds and Their Keepers, and it's a collection of stories that I collected from seed savers that I met traveling around. I go to a lot of seed swaps and that sort of thing, and I was meeting a lot of older folks that have been preserving these family varieties of different fruits and vegetables and things, and I had these opportunities to sit down and they would share their stories with me, and we collected them into this book. And I have a little sentimental attachment to it, I guess, because it was my first book, but it was also just really fun to work on and to meet these people, and then to collect those stories, to preserve those stories as well. Just like the seed savers preserve the seeds, we were able to save those stories. So that was really special.
It's like a
Um,
song catcher.
yeah, it totally is.
You know what I mean? Like the once those I always try to like hmm, this is like totally verklempt, right? Saturday Night Live from the 80s, people. But like I always tell my kids my grandfather's stories and my mom's stories, and because we're losing them to 30-second sound bites. And
Yes.
you put these together for the next generation.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
like that is something to be massively proud of.
I appreciate that. I'd met in that adventure, I met an old lady in Kentucky whose name was Sylvia, and we originally connected over a variety of corn that her family had grown. And we spent hours and hours, even on the phone with Sylvia talking, and she shared so many stories, all these things she could remember. At one point, we weren't even talking about the corn anymore. She was telling me stories about she remembered when she got sick as a little girl and her mom would go out in the woods and collect plants to make medicine, and she'd be telling me about that. And I was just writing and writing everything that she'd say. And then one day Sylvia says, you know, I'm so appreciative, Bevan, that you want my stories, that you want to hear these stories. She says, nobody else seems to care about these stories. My family's heard them. Nobody wants to hear them. I don't have anybody else to tell these stories to. And that's really when it hit me. I thought, well, this is significant, So that was really why we started writing the stories down. I said, we have to save all of this, whatever we can. So that was a really special one, that book. Then last year I did a book with Ogden that we called the Heritage Pantry, and it was sort of a food preservation guide. It was a little bit different than a lot of stuff that I do. We write a lot of things about gardening, whether it be seeds and
Mhm.
seed saving or herbs and herbalism. So this one was a little bit different because it's now that we've collected all this produce, what do we do with it type of book. But I was able to stick a bunch of stories in there. If you read any of my books, all of my books, everything that I do is all story based. I'm a
Yes.
storyteller by heart, right? So I stuck a bunch of stories in there, like about my grandma and her preserving tomatoes and all sorts of stuff. So it was kind of an opportunity for me to document some of my stories, which I thought was really nice to do. But
I can't even tell you how touched I am that I mean like that you include this in your work. I mean, I know I'm a total goofball. I have no I mean, I'm like over here just about ready to lose it because I don't think people realize that a lot of the education stops when the stories end.
yeah.
We're literally, our whole human existence is based on storytelling and our ability to pass information on before we could write, right?
Oh,
Or we
absolutely.
could do mass communication. I mean, every town, village, the town crier, the person who traveled from here or there with the stories. Like when we lose these stories, I think we lose what it means to, I don't know, I guess this sounds corny, but what it means to be American. Because we're both in America, but those
Sure.
are those are our roots, those are our plant roots, those are our people roots, those are everything. And the fact that you're collecting and sharing this is just that you have and you continue to do so in your work is one of the reasons why you get the term illustrious.
Nice. Well, and I think that's an important thing that you're touching on, the importance of storytelling. And I think that, even outside of America, like any place,
Mhm.
all over
Absolutely.
the world, storytelling has played such a role in passing down information from one generation to the next. But if we wanted to fast forward even to these modern times with these 30-second snippets that you'd mentioned, that sort of thing, there's still a value in storytelling that takes place today in this fast-paced world that
Mhm.
we live in. I mean, even if you think of like what they call it, content marketing, right? Right? It's even
I'm
social
no good
media.
at that.
No, sure, but the social media that tells a story that has that engagement is going to do
Hmm.
well, because there's something
Yeah.
inherently inside of all of us that responds to that. Whether it's long form or short form storytelling, people respond to it because they love to hear that story because maybe it's just ingrained in us that we know that that has value. So,
I think it's also, we like to know we're not alone.
oh yeah,
So
yeah.
when you're listening to us, when you're sharing, someone's story about a plant or a garden or whatever, and say I read it, I'm like, that's my papa. Like, we all can make these connections, or oh, I did that with my babies. I wonder if that's because they're from the similar area of the country as my grandmother was. And so I think it really helps to continue these threads. And then we see the younger generations taking these threads to new technologically
Right.
advanced areas, right? But I think it's amazing. So I love that you put that in your work. So I just felt like I wanted to, I don't know, talk about that for a little while, because I just think it's so cool that um your work includes people, you know?
Yeah, sure. And I've even found as a teacher that storytelling works. It's such an important tool. Even if the story is just to draw people in and to get their interest, now they're paying attention to what I'm saying, that we can have these as a teaching opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, storytelling is powerful. And I'm lucky to be in situations where I find not only are folks willing to share their stories with me, but then I have the opportunity to share those stories with an even wider audience.
My grandfather would have loved you. He
I
used to
appreciate that.
record stories from uh, people from his town who lived through the Depression and served in the Second World War. He would go and
Oh, wow.
interview them. So I don't know, so we have copies of all of that, but he was very much the grand storyteller. So he would be really enjoying looking over all your material if he was still with us. So
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, so all right. Tell us a little bit about herbs and every season.
Yes. So
This is coming out soon. I'm so excited.
it's coming out like right away.
Yeah,
March,
I gotta get a copy of it. Like,
you
so
gotta, you
yeah,
would
yeah,
love it the
yeah.
most. So it comes out March 25th. So if your listeners are listening before that, we're doing pre-sales, we're doing pre-orders right now, so they can still get a copy of it ordered. And the pre-orders that we're doing come with some great gifts as well too. But at the end of telling you what my favorite book was, I think this is going to be where I ended anyways, because
Oh, good. I'm sorry I
no, no,
interrupted
my
you.
gosh, no, cool. It's all good. But because I think that it's the best work I've ever done.
Wow.
It's yeah, well, I've had all these years now of really fine-tuning the craft, so to speak, but some of my books have done quite well commercially. And so
Mhm.
what that means is that this book is with Timber Press, and Timber Press really allowed me the opportunity to kind of do whatever I want. And when you're working with a larger publisher, sometimes that's not always the case. They
Yeah,
have,
yeah.
specifics that they want to do. Like with
I
this
couldn't
book,
choose my own covers.
well, right, yeah,
I didn't even get a say in it. They just
no,
said this is what we chose, and I was like, oh,
and that's
okay.
usually the way that
That
it
doesn't
is.
look like me at all.
It's tough. That's a balancing act that I've learned over the years. I just sometimes just got to let go and let somebody else do stuff. But with this one, they were interested in an herbal medicine book, is what they
Nice.
wanted. And I was like, okay, we could do that. I've kind of already done something like that. A few years ago, we wrote The Artisan Herbalist,
Hmm.
which is
Beautiful
really,
book.
oh, thank you. I appreciate that. So I told him, I said, I've kind of already done that. So I really want to kind of expand on that concept. And let's look at herbs through the lens of the seasons. Let's
Hmm.
follow these plants through the life of an entire year. But we can't just talk about them from a medicinal standpoint. I also want to talk about these plants from a culinary standpoint. You know, in real life, I do both. I'm not just a strictly medicinal herbalist, right? I
Hmm.
mean, I'm also
Yeah.
using herbs in the kitchen, and most people do. So to truly communicate with somebody the importance of herbs as a lifestyle, we have to talk about it from both points of view. And they were like, okay, you could do that if you want. And I was like, well, thank goodness, I've already written like 45,000 words.
Well, that's a good thing we're on the same page, because let me
Right.
tell you, it's done.
It's already done. I'm turning it
It's
in.
already done. Oh, that's
So
awesome.
yeah, it came out really nice. So we broke it down seasonally. We started with spring.
Mhm.
And I mean, depending on your philosophy, the seasons could start at any point. So you could really pick
Yeah.
this book and just open it up at any stage. But we started with spring and worked our way through the seasons. So each season features plants that predominantly exist for me in that season, or are plants that I need in some way during that season, right? So we
Oh,
really took
wow.
this seasonal approach. And then we talk about herbs in the kitchen, we talk about herbs in the apothecary, but I also have to talk about growing or foraging the herbs, where to find it, habitats, that sort of thing. So it's really the most inclusive thing that I've ever been able to write. It's really it's jam packed full of info. It's pretty awesome.
It sounds incredible. So I mean, I'm a clinical herbalist, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, but my favorite thing is preparing food for I always joke I probably should have been like a chef, but like I love, stuffing herbs and things, and like things people don't think about, and making my own spice blends, and I have a whole section of my kitchen that's just cooking herbs, and people look at me like I'm crazy. And I feel like I may have found someone I would love to cook a meal with
Oh, I would
sometime.
love that.
Like, just like so much fun in that.
You were a guest on my podcast sometime last year, I believe it was, and we did the Ask the Herbalist segment where people send in their
Mhm.
questions and have them, So it was a lot of it was medicinal herb questions, you know what I mean? So you were the perfect person to have on, being a clinical herbalist. And at one point, I asked you, what is one of your favorite ways to work with herbs? And that's what you said was using it using herbs to cook for your family. And I thought
Mhm.
that is the message right there. Even somebody who is steeped in clinical medicinal knowledge understands the importance of herbs from the culinary standpoint and the role that that plays. That's heavy, right? It's so easy for us to get boxed into thinking about things one way or the other, but in reality, both exist simultaneously, right?
Oh, you make a tasty meal and the medicine will go down.
You
I don't
got it.
care what you're feeding your kids. If you make a tasty meal with it, they're gonna get there. And so many times my kids were getting medicine, had no idea. Like, it's like, let me make you a tea. That tastes like dirty sock. All right, we're having dirty sock for dinner. You'll never know. It just makes life so much easier when you understand that. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see your connections to the seasons, because I think we're going to learn a lot about you.
Yeah, you
You may be
will.
telling us more than you want. You're like, ah.
Yeah, well, and I don't mind having that, chance for people to kind of look into my personal world a little bit. I think that's important. When we were working on the book, I really wanted to make it accessible to as many people as possible. But not everybody is going to experience the seasons the same way that I do, right?
Mhm.
Some places,
Yeah.
well, my sister-in-law lives in San Diego. She doesn't even have a season, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So we had to think about it seasons from many perspectives. Like there's the seasons that I experience, that are very distinct and different, but there's also the seasons of a day or the seasons of our lives. And I really wanted to kind of lean into those concepts as well, because I think that as herbalists, as medicine makers, it's important for us to see those relationships that we have with the outside world and how it connects to the relationships we have with our inside world as well.
Oh, I love that. I have been personally working on getting more aligned with my day. So I would always get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, start working right away, and like, do a 12-hour day. And I was like, this is insane.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And I was like, what about the things I really want? What gives me minutes of grace that last all day? And I'm like, sunrise does, sunset does, getting sunshine on my skin does, and experiencing the season of the day. So I just love how you put that, because I think that we get so, even like herbalists get so connected to this box here, and that we have to work and we have to produce and we have to implement. We're competing against a million different things out there. and you're like, whoa, slow down, speed racer. Like, what's going on here? How can I look at this differently? And I love, you should make a companion workbook
Oh,
for people to like, what was my seasonal day? Like you could do something really fun with it, or today's the day you make like a really sexy Mexican hot chocolate with all the beans from here, or you could do like a golden milk or a soup, or you could like do all kinds of fun stuff for people.
that
Now
is
that I
fun.
gave
That's
you another project.
Yeah, yeah. I'll put
Would
that
be
into my spare
awesome.
time. We'll work that in. No, that's a really cool idea. And I think that helping people find reasons to experience that, you know what I mean? So there's a lot
Mhm.
of recipes in the book, to try to help people that tactile sit down and let's get in the kitchen and let's make something, because I think that is important to experience. It's interesting what you're saying about, even as herbalists, that sometimes we find ourselves, stuck on this computer and we don't have the opportunities to maybe get outside, or we don't prioritize it like maybe we should. And I find that being self-employed, it's even more difficult. You know what I mean? Because there's nothing to stop me from working 24 hours a day. Like you're working a punch in, punch out job, you're punched in or punched out. But when you're, an entrepreneur, it's like you could accidentally slip into working all day and night,
Oh, yeah,
and
I've had times where I have.
oh
We've got to redo an update. We have security protocols. We have this. We're redoing 3,500 pages of content. Like, let's go I would literally have gone to a hotel and worked 24/7 for like 4 or 5 days.
yeah.
Just because, I don't know, you have
Well, I
to.
mean, sometimes you gotta. Every once in a while,
Yeah,
something's coming up, and you're like, you got to get this done. And so, I mean, that's part of it. But that the routine, if that becomes the routine, that's not healthy.
no,
So
no, you're so
finding those
right.
barriers is very important to provide that. Allow yourself to have that space, and
Yeah.
think about your day as the seasons. Not everything is the super productive summer. We're gonna
Yeah,
have the
yeah.
wind down of the fall. We're gonna have the peace of the winter, and we have to incorporate that into our day-to-day life. And I think that that's really important. So for me, working on the book was a big wake up call, because I am one of those. Let's work 24 hours a day. Let's just, it happens. It
Hmm.
happens. So it was good for me. It was really good for me to write that down and be like, oh, if I'm going to put this in a book, I got to live it. We got to be doing it. So it was really nice. It was really
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
So I'm excited to share the book with everybody. I'm excited to get it out there, and I hope that everybody enjoys it as much as I enjoyed making it. Because it's really, like I said, I think it's some of the best work that I've done.
Wow.
It's really brought together a lot of the messaging here at Small House Farm and presented it in a way that I haven't been able to do before. So
That's so awesome. So, what do you think will be the favorite recipe in
say
the
that
book?
again. You broke up. I'm sorry.
What do you think will be everyone's favorite recipe?
Oh my goodness.
Or what's one you think we should like buy the book to make like immediately? Like, what do
Wow.
you think will just like blow people's socks off?
Well, one that was really popular, we had a photographer come. She came out and spent 4 days here shooting a bunch of stuff around the gardens, and then we did a bunch of the recipes. And one that really got her, we did a super sunflower cornbread, where I replaced a bunch of the cornmeal with actually ground sunflower seeds, and it's got sunflower oil in it. And then we decorated the top of it with sunflower petals when we made it. It came out so beautiful, and it was so delicious. And she was from Chicago. She's like, I don't even eat cornbread. She's like, but I would eat this every single day. And so that one was a hit. We really did
That
a
sounds
lot of different stuff.
beautiful.
Yeah, it was really fun to make. We did so many different things. Each herb, there's what, 40 herbs in the book or something like that, and each herb's got multiple recipes. So there's a lot. So it'd be hard for me to pick a favorite one. But the sunflower was a fun one. The sunflower cornbread, really, I loved decorating it with the sunflower petals. That's really why I'm picking that one, because it was like a little work of art.
I think that's probably the perfect reason. There is somebody on Instagram who decorates breads and cakes with flowers, and every time I see it, I'm like, oh, I want to do that. So I can understand why you like that.
I'd actually seen somebody had done a focaccia bread and it was very beautiful. And that was my inspiration. I was like, I'm going to try to do this. And mine did not turn out that beautiful, not as beautiful as this Instagram photo, but it was still nice. And that's the cool thing about it is everybody that's going to make that is going to do it differently, and they're going to express themselves differently, and they're going to make it themselves. It's going to represent them personally. And I think that's an important thing when we learn about herbs, to understand how personal it is. Whether it's in the kitchen or it's in the apothecary, everything's very unique to where you are, who you are, whatever ailment you're trying to cure. All of these things are very specific. And that's sort of the beauty of it, that it really gives us these opportunities to celebrate our uniqueness, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I am not a fan of herbalism or cooking or anything that it's like, this is the only way it's done. I'm like, "Ah, no."
I will intentionally do it differently just because they say that. For sure. No, and so we try to do that with those recipes too. All of them are like, I kind of like doing it like this, but maybe you could try doing something different because, well, why not? I mean, that's part of the fun of it, like especially in the kitchen, the experimentation that you can do, to try different things and to not be afraid to fail. That's the beauty of the whole thing. So we really try to lean into that and help people just find joy in herbs, right?
Yeah, I love that. So, is there anything else you want to tell us about this book and why we have to run and get it from your website pre-order? Because that helps the authors, people,
It's
right?
huge. It's
It
tremendous.
helps the authors. And look, I know we all have had plenty of those boxes on our front porch
Yeah.
from all kinds of places. No names. I don't want to be taken out, but but there is something really important about purchasing from the author. It really does a lot for them. So can you tell us why we need to get this from you immediately?
Well,
Because
I'm
I'm
gonna.
going to order it when we get off the phone. So,
Oh, you're awesome. You're awesome. Well, so if you get the book from us, if you pre-order the book through us, not only do you get the book right away and you get it autographed by me, and some people like that, right? Cool. But I'm also going to send you other things with it. I'm going to send you 5 packets of seeds from our garden. We have a little mini seed business here at Small House Farm. So I'm going to send you 5 packets of seeds right from our farm, likely herbs and flowers. But who knows what kind of gems we're going to come across that we're going to send. So that's going to be a surprise. And then you also get a 6 month paid membership to our Patreon community. Automatically, as soon as you buy the book online, you get the email triggered, sent right to you, to sign up for the Patreon. So it's 6 months for free. And that includes a ton of perks and benefits. So as a Patreon member, you get exclusive content, you get bonus episodes of the podcast, you get all sorts of different things. And some tiers you get seasonal herbal gift boxes sent right to your door. So more boxes on the porch, right? So you would
but
get
they're from you.
they're from me, and they're handcrafted. So every season you will get a box of seasonal herbal products, whether it's teas and tinctures and salves and sauces and lotions and seasoning blends and all sorts of different stuff. It's always different, and it is one of the most fun things. I love getting to do it because, at Small House, we sell a lot of herbal products on our website. We have a whole store there. So those products we've been offering those things for some of them for years and years, and I got to make them
Hmm.
in bulk, and I'm making tons of them all the time, and that's
Yep.
the way that it is. But these ones, you don't. These are not available on the website. These are unique products that only come in these packages. So it allows us this opportunity to kind of experiment on a smaller scale and make different things and play with the seasons and have a lot of fun. So it's been making things really fun to be making these different products again. It's been really nice. So I
What a cool
appreciate it.
gift.
It is pretty cool. They are
Like
pretty
like
cool.
that would be like a good bridesmaids gift. Like you sign all your bridesmaids up for the thing and they get it for like a year, or you have a teenager that's into this kind of stuff, or you're like your aunt, or it just all I'm thinking is like what a cool. I would have loved if when I was younger and I didn't know how to do all this stuff, but I was into it. If someone had signed me up for something like that, I just would have thought it was amazing. But what a
Yeah.
cool thing to share with the community overall. Like that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been really fun, and they've been quite popular, so we like doing it. So the Patreon membership, that's another perk we're just giving folks if they pre-order the book. We just sign you right up to the program for free, for 6 months, so they can kind of experience it
Yeah.
and see if it's for them and that sort of thing. And then obviously you get the book, which is the biggest deal of it all,
Yeah.
right? So we do encourage the pre-orders, and ordering from an author is always the best thing that you can do, as opposed to the nameless giant online store that sells things to people. Because when you order directly, everybody benefits more that way. Let's put it like
Oh,
that.
yeah. Well, I found out at some point with one of my publishers, I was like, hey, my book's being sold at this place, and we don't actually sell it in this country. And they were like, oh, well, sucks to suck. They don't respect copyright law. And I was like, oh, okay. So, like, when you order from the author, it's not a counterfeit product. It's not, it's not the same with the herbal products. When you're getting them from the person, they're actually coming from the person.
Right.
And I know that sounds silly to say it like that, but I wasn't aware until about maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I ordered some it was like a lipstick thing for one of my son's friends. I was like, "Oh, I'll get it for her for her birthday. That's what she wanted." And she was like, "I'm really sorry to tell you this. This counterfeit."
Oh
And I
my
was like,
gosh.
"What?" And it was like a big brand. It was like total counterfeit cosmetic. And ever since then, it kind of like opened my eyes to like anything I put in my body. I really want to know who the provider is. And I know that sounds paranoid, but I don't know. I got nothing better to do. I'm getting old. I just because I didn't know anything about buying makeup. So if I don't know about herbs, then I'm going to order from an herbalist. If I don't know about, cutting boards, I'm going to order a cutting board from the person that makes them because I always kind of link that to, well, one, it's great and it's really a sustainable way to live, but also it just, I don't know, safety. So I mean, I know I kind of went off on the rails here, so I apologize, but it's like you get the book from the author, you know exactly who you're getting it from and who your money is directly supporting. And
Absolutely.
that's
I
what I'm
mean,
trying to get around
and
to.
like you said, it's like that with everything. It's going to the farmer's market as opposed to the
Mhm.
grocery store.
Yeah,
The closer you can get to the source with anything, the better it's going to be for everybody.
absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us about your seed library. You had to have known I was going to bring this up.
Oh yeah, for sure. So seed library. So there's multitude of answers here. So it's a multifaceted situation with the seed library. So here at Small House Farm, we store and preserve a lot of seeds, all sorts of varieties. On the other side of this wall behind me is freezer chests full of seeds. All right, so it's sort of a seed bank type of thing.
Mhm.
And then what we are able to every year, depending on space and pollination isolation, we won't dig into that, but it's what we're able to grow here. We grow out every year, and then to multiply that seed, and then we offer it through our website to folks through our little seed store if people want to purchase these unusual and unique varieties, so then they can grow it in their gardens. And then that the whole seed preservation program that we have. And that's fun for us, but we had to make it fun for the whole community as well. So what we've gotten involved in 2017, I founded an organization called the Michigan Seed Library Network. And essentially we've developed a network of seed libraries all throughout the state. And what a seed library is, well, it's just like a typical library, really. You could think of it like that, where people will come to check out books. At a seed library, you come to check out seeds. You take the seeds home, you grow them in your garden, you enjoy it, and then in theory, in the fall, just like you would return your book, you return fresh seeds to the seed library to restock it so other members of your community have access to locally grown high quality seeds. And it's really taken off. As of now, there are 145 seed libraries in the state of Michigan. Yeah, right. And to put that in perspective, there's maybe 700 nationwide, and 145 of them are here in Michigan, right? So I mean, it's a lot of legwork. There's a lot of people involved. It's not just me. I helped found the organization. There's a number of volunteers that help. All the seed librarians doing all the work. It's grown. It's quite a serious situation. But it's not just isolated to Michigan. There's seed libraries
Yeah,
all
yeah.
over the place. So wherever your listeners are tuning in, they can probably find a seed library not far from them. And I would recommend the Community Seed Network. The Community Seed Network has a website that you can go on. It's got an interactive map, and you can find seed libraries or seed stewards near you as well. So you can find that. And we kind of replicated that idea with the Michigan Seed Library Network, we have a map of Michigan where everybody could find all the seed libraries that we have here. And, it's originally I was pushing a lot of like vegetables, garden crops, you know what I mean? Tomatoes and melons and whatever it might be for people to eat. But as it kind of shapes itself, the more that it's out there with the public, it's really become a lot of native plants. There's a lot of herbs. That sort of thing has really become some of the mainstays of a lot of these seed libraries. So it is a great way to get access to seeds for native plants for your region, herbs that you might want to grow in your gardens. It's really, really cool to see that sort of thing happening. So even here at Small House, our seed collection, our online store has really come into a lot of herbs lately. We are selling a lot more herbs than we used to. When we first started, it was a lot of beans and
Hmm.
tomatoes, and I still do a lot of beans and tomatoes, but the page that we sell herb seeds has grown
Wow.
significantly. Yeah, so we've got lots of cool herbs that we're offering seeds for.
That's awesome. Hey, there's nothing better than homegrown tomatoes. Homegrown
Oh,
tomatoes.
you got it. They are the best, and so that's kind of a thing too when we're finding the varieties that we want to grow. Like we're going to grow some things because they're historically significant. We're going to grow some things maybe because they're sentimental, they're family heirlooms. We're going to grow some things because they're just gosh darn delicious. I'm going to grow some herbs because they're bringing in pollinators or because I'm going to use them
Hmm.
in the apothecary or because I can't get enough of them in the kitchen. There's so many great reasons to grow as much as you can, with the
Yeah,
space that you have. So it's cool to,
absolutely.
yeah, to be able to offer these seeds because then the customers, they'll always email me and tell me how their stuff's doing or whatever. And it's fun to see all the
It's like you
different,
got little babies all over the
yeah,
place, right?
yeah, yeah.
You got little herb grandbabies. Well,
Yeah.
I always think it's funny when people who like when I'm talking to people of like a very traditional lawn setup. And then they'll say something like, "Well, I heard this was a native plant. I was thinking of getting it." And I always want to be like, "You're in trouble now." You're like, "I'm going to take this and replace it with, a pollinator." I'm like, "Oops, all right.
It's a
You're going to
slippery
have a
slope.
completely different yard next year." And it's great because people do. Or they say, "Well, I'm not buying my plants from whatever huge store anymore. I'm getting them from this person or I'm getting from this place because of." They have more what I'm interested in. And I love that because when you purchase a plant or a seed from someone who's really involved with the history of it, I kind of feel like you get to bring those memories to your land too. You bring that feeling of, yes, this has been cared for and tended, and it's almost like I don't know, you get to continue a legacy of preservation and conservation and eating really good maters.
Absolutely. I always tell people they become a part of the story now too. They're like the next chapter in the story.
Yeah, for sure. Do you find that a lot of the people interested in seed saving and growing native plants and their demographic is changing to a more younger population? I feel like the amount of information my sons in their 20s have about native plants and like just like all of this stuff, and not just because they're my kids, right? Like they would probably technically have an advantage, but like even their friends, it's like a whole different, oh yeah, this is their heritage okra or whatever, and I'm like looking at this like 20 something year old firefighter like, okay, cool. Like I just feel like it's something that younger people are talking about more or more interested in. And I don't know, maybe that's just me, but do you find that with your sales and the people that are coming to, your workshops and classes?
Oh yeah, I would agree with that. I would say that just generally interest in this sort of thing has grown with every age group. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
A
that's
lot
true.
of folks are really getting interested in gardening or growing their own or the benefits of herbs. But certainly more younger people now than I would have said 10 years ago, for sure. And maybe a lot of that does have to do with the social media, their ability to have access to very quickly all sorts of snippets of information. And then with the algorithms, you look at one plant picture, and boy, now you're just going to get a bunch of plant pictures, right? Um,
I should have never looked up a chainsaw. Let me just tell you that.
you got to stick with plant pictures. That's the key. But and I think that you're right though. There's something going on that has piqued people's interests in the natural world in a way that seems very new and it's very exciting, and people are really coming into that in a really interesting way. So it's very exciting to see. I'm not going to say the big P word, but in 2020 there's this thing that happened, and
Oh my gosh, this is how slow I am. I'm like, I'm like, what is he talking?
oh, all right, I'm going to say it for clarity's
Panda
sake.
bears. I get you now. I'm the only slow. Everyone else is
Wow,
already caught on who will be listening. They'll be,
I hope so. Oh goodness. No, no. So in 2020, and that moment, the silver lining of that, if we wanted to see it, was all of a sudden people like eyes opened up to things in a very different way. And then I think it's just been really, really cool to see people wanting to get back to the land or get back to, learning more about herbs or trying to grow their own food or whatever it might be. It's really cool. And I was so worried that, we'd have this big spike when it happened and everybody had a panic, that it would kind of peter out and it would be over with, but it really seems to have held on with a lot of folks, that continued interest. Maybe not everybody's doing sourdough bread like they were, but a lot of folks are still out there gardening and doing things and learning about
mm-hmm.
plants, and it's so cool to see that because, well, as herbalists, that's like our dream come true, right? To see other people going out there and doing that, as teachers wanting to get people turned on to the land, seeing it happening in real time. That's pretty much the coolest thing.
Oh, yeah, I've got to agree with you on that. I feel like, yeah, we may not all be out in our gardens as much as we were a few years ago or baking the sourdough bread, but I think from those experiences, people are like, I care who grows my vegetables. I care where they come from. I care who's baking my bread for my family in a different way. So I think even if they're not doing themselves, they're definitely supporting professions that are now
Totally.
offering those. But like I think farmers markets are just getting, I mean, I live in the middle of nowhere and there's probably 4 or 5 within a half hour.
That's
And
awesome.
I'm not sure if they were all there years ago because we were transplants, but I just feel like this interest has not waned. People are natural soap, and they're just kind of continuing, maybe not doing the skill themselves anymore, but they're definitely willing to pay for that. They value it now. I really
Absolutely.
think, yeah.
I agree.
So you mentioned classes. Tell us about the classes that you offer.
Oh, yes. So a lot of the educational programming that we do is in person, right? I do a lot in the spring and in the fall. I travel all over the place. Like that's no exaggeration. I mean, I've traveled from LA to Prince Edward Island, you know what I mean? At all points in between.
I love Prince Edward Island.
Oh
I can't
yeah,
believe you just said that. Have you ever had their potatoes?
I did not have their
Oh my
potatoes.
gosh, they're seriously the best potatoes in the whole world.
What?
Yes,
Okay.
if you go there again, when you go there again, you have to go. And then my family used to have property there.
Really?
Yeah, there was my mother found these two little cabins and or cottages, I should say, a long time ago. But anyways, it is
Wow.
definitely like I'm Prince Edward Island girl before the bridge.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. I was only there the one time for a conference, but the point being, I travel a lot to teach.
Mm.
So I do a lot of that, but not everybody obviously can make it to these in-person things. So we did start a YouTube channel a while ago. So we were able to put some educational programming on through
How do we find the
there.
channel?
Oh, Small House Farm.
All right.
YouTube/Small House Farm. So it's a simple way to find all of our stuff. But one thing that we just recently did, that I was so excited about, is we connected with an organization called the School of Traditional Skills. And it's an online school and they offer classes for, you think about it, homesteading, they got it from, raising chickens to butchering cattle to also, you name it, they got it, right? And so they got a hold of me to do an herb gardening program for their school. So last July, so last summer, they brought this film crew out and they were here for many days. And we shot what turned into 17 videos, everything about herb gardening. And I'm talking like from like, where you're going to source your seeds to planning out your garden to where your sun is to soil testing, every step of it, all the way through harvesting, drying, and processing herbs, the whole gambit. And it's a beautiful class that they put together with all of I mean, they followed me around for days with the camera and in the gardens, and I just told everything I know about growing these plants, and it's turned out to be beautiful. And that's coming out basically as we're recording this. It's coming out. So if they visit the Small House Farm website, smallhousefarm.com, you'll see a link to that. It says like online classes or something, and it'll take you straight through to the school, so you can check out my class as well as all the other offerings through the school. It's a really cool organization, and I was really lucky to connect with them. It was just kind of, like-minded people sometimes bump into each other. We just kind of found ourselves in the same place at the same time, and a conversation came up, and they said, "We want you to do this class." And it was cool to really be able to lean into teaching everything I know about growing herbs, because we've been growing herbs here for a couple decades now. And out of all the books I've written, I haven't really written a book specifically all about everything I know about growing herbs. So it was cool to be able to put that into a place for folks so that they could, learn from all of my experiences and not make all the mistakes I made and have the herb garden of their dreams.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, I love that so much. I love that you've incorporated, homesteading, which is really popular right now, but also just growing herbs and practicality. And, I just, I think we're in an age where we're really lucky. We can, if we look, we can find the voices that we need to hear, we can turn off the ones that we don't need to hear if we want to. we
Right.
can
Oh my gosh.
we can find you can find pretty much a class for anything. I'm a total class like nut. Like I'm gonna be taking a hopefully, fingers crossed, a large equipment operating class so I can learn how to use like a skid steer and all this kind of stuff.
Oh,
Because
cool.
you never know,
You
right?
never know when it's
And
going to
but
come
like
up.
I love doing stuff like that. Like I love like always, and I think if people look, they can find it. So look, Bevan is teaching these things. He is out here. He's giving you the information. He's got books. He has a website. He has his own seed library, people. Like, check it out. I just love that so much. And I love that you've taken the time today to connect with us and to share your story and to share about your herb gardening with Bevan, which is coming out very soon. So thank you so much. Did I say the name of the book right? No,
Herbs in
it's
every
Herbs in
season.
Every Season. Sorry, the class is herb gardening.
It's a lot of the same words over and over again. But yes, you got it. It's herbs in every season, and it comes out March 25th. But if they hear this before that, they can always pre-order on my website,
Yeah,
which
we're
once
putting it
again,
up before then because
awesome.
I'm like, nope, let's get people some freebies if they want.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. They would love it. Especially, yeah, listeners, for your podcast, students from the school, I think that they would really benefit from it. Some of our patrons, some of our members, because you can really get to know them personally because it's it's
Hmm.
it's really cool. And some of them are like older, experienced herbalists, and they say, "Oh, we love these boxes because you're sending us stuff that I never made it like that before, or I never even thought of working with this herb." And so they're learning new ideas and techniques, and they're getting inspired, and they're old herbies, so I think it's really something that's just it's cool for everybody. But selfishly, I love it the most because it gives me the chance to just really get out there and experiment with the plants in a way that I hadn't been able to do in a few years. So every time somebody supports it, they're supporting my ability to play in the garden, and I appreciate that.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. I love when I go to like a health fair or a products expo or whatever, and I see things I've never seen before. I just, I'm always like, that's so awesome. Like, or I don't have to make it. Someone else can make it and they make it better than me. I want to buy this and
Right
not
on.
have to worry about it, right? Like, there's some things you're like, no one will ever make it better than me, right? And then there's other things that you're like, everyone's going to make it better. And that's a good thing to own and to be like, I'm going to support a business that's going to do it for me and really get to learn something in the process. So thank you so much. Thank you for being on. We've taken up almost an hour of your time, so I do really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Oh, Demetria, thank you so much for having me on the show. This was super fun. It was an honor for me to be able to sit down and chat with you. This was very, very cool for me. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And please keep us updated on any other things that come out so we can have you back or any other big projects you're doing. because what I want to try to do with this podcast series is I want to highlight how herbalism is different for everyone and how we all have a place in herbalism and it's not always, what we think it is. It's
Sure.
often people just like us, like people who are just people who are doing their mission and have incredible, illustrious gifts. So thank you. I really appreciate it. You have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Thanks again.
Thanks. Bye bye.